Disturbing mythical sea creatures you've never heard of. Long before modern ships crossed the oceans, fishermen along the coast of Japan told stories about a terrifying creature that lived beneath the waves. What made this creature so frightening wasn't its appearance. It was the fact that most people never saw it coming. The creature was known as the Isonade. In Japanese folklore, the Isonade was described as a gigantic, shark-like sea monster that lurked just below the surface of the ocean. Unlike many legendary sea creatures, it wasn't known for rising out of the water and revealing itself. Most of its massive body remained hidden beneath the waves, and sailors were said to notice only one part of the creature: its tail. And this wasn't an ordinary tail. Stories described it as being covered in countless sharp hooks and barbs, almost like a giant weapon moving through the sea. According to the legends, the arrival of the Isonade was often accompanied by strong winds. Fishermen believed that when the weather suddenly changed and powerful gusts began sweeping across the water, the creature might be nearby. Then, somewhere in the distance, its enormous tail would appear above the waves. By the time someone spotted it, there was little chance of escaping. The legends claimed that the Isonade used its barbed tail to snag people and boats before dragging them into the depths below. What made the creature especially terrifying was that nobody knew exactly where it was. The ocean might appear calm one moment, but beneath the surface, something enormous could already be moving toward you. After days at sea, you finally see what you've been hoping for: land. A dark shape sits quietly on the horizon, rising above the water. After spending days surrounded by nothing but open ocean, the sight brings immediate relief. As your ship moves closer, the island appears exactly as you expected. It isn't moving. It isn't drifting. It simply sits there in the middle of the sea, safe. Or at least, that's what it seems. Everything seemed normal until the island began to move, slowly at first, then all at once. The ground beneath your feet shifts. The island starts sinking beneath the waves, and in that moment, you realize the truth. It was never an island. It was a creature, a gigantic sea monster known as the Aspidochelone. According to medieval legends, the Aspidochelone was so enormous that sailors could mistake its back for land. From a distance, its body appeared completely motionless, making it almost impossible to distinguish from a small island. Descriptions of the creature varied over time. Some stories portrayed it as a colossal whale, while others described it as a massive turtle-like monster. Despite these differences, every version of the legend agreed on one thing: its size was beyond belief. The creature was said to be so large that people could walk across its back without realizing what they were standing on. Some accounts even claimed that sailors dropped anchor into its body, believing they had reached a real island, and that was precisely what made it dangerous. According to the stories, once sailors settled on its back, the Aspidochelone would descend beneath the ocean, dragging everything above it into the depths. The creature became one of the most unusual sea monsters in medieval folklore, because its greatest weapon wasn't claws, teeth, or supernatural powers. It was its size. The idea that a living creature could be so enormous that people failed to recognize it as a creature at all. Imagine looking across the ocean and seeing thousands of fish suddenly gathering in one place. To a sailor, it would seem like incredible luck. A dense school of fish meant food, profit, and an easier journey home. But according to Norse legends, there were times when such a sight was anything but fortunate. Because the fish weren't gathering naturally, they were being lured. Something enormous was waiting beneath them. The creature was known as the Hafgufa. In Norse folklore, the Hafgufa was described as one of the largest sea monsters ever believed to inhabit the ocean. Ancient accounts claimed it spent much of its time floating near the surface, with its enormous mouth wide open. From a distance, nothing seemed unusual. The sea remained calm. Then, the trap would begin. Legends claimed the Hafgufa released food or bait into the surrounding water. Drawn by the easy meal, fish would gather in huge numbers around the creature. More fish arrived. then even more. Before long, the area became crowded with prey, but beneath the surface, the monster was simply waiting. And when enough prey had gathered, the Hafgufa struck. Its massive jaws slammed shut, swallowing everything trapped inside. Some stories even suggested the monster was so enormous that sailors could mistake parts of its body for ordinary features of the ocean. Stories of the Hafgufa spread throughout the medieval North Atlantic, appearing in Old Norse texts and sailors' tales. In a world where much of the ocean remained unexplored, legends of gigantic creatures lurking beneath the waves seemed entirely possible. What makes the story even more fascinating is that some historians believe it may have been inspired by real whales. Certain species have been observed feeding near the surface, with their mouths open, allowing fish to gather before suddenly swallowing them. Over time, sightings of real animals may have evolved into something far more monstrous. The ocean is full of creatures that hunt with sharp teeth and brute strength. But according to old Scottish folklore, there was a creature that didn't need either of those. It used deception. The creature was known as the Finnfolk. The Finnfolk were powerful sea beings that lived in a hidden underwater kingdom called Finnfolkaheme. Unlike ordinary sea monsters, they were intelligent, magical, and incredibly skilled at tricking people. Their most dangerous ability was shapeshifting. A Finnfolk could change its appearance whenever it wanted. Sometimes it appeared as an ordinary person. Sometimes it took the form of a beautiful woman, standing on a distant rock, surrounded by the sea. From a distance, a sailor might spot the figure and become curious. A fisherman might hear someone calling from across the water. The figure always seemed close enough to reach, but no matter how far someone traveled, the distance never seemed to close. Slowly, without realizing it, they drifted farther and farther from shore. Then the truth became clear. The person they had been following was never human at all. It was one of the Finnfolk. Legends describe the Finnfolk as masters of sea magic. They could control storms, travel across the ocean at incredible speed, and lure people into the depths of the sea. Some stories tell of sailors who vanished after encountering them. Others speak of humans being taken to Finnfolkaheme, the mysterious underwater home of the Finnfolk, never to be seen again. For sailors crossing the North Atlantic, the ocean was full of dangers, but few creatures were said to be as strange as the Xiphias. The creature was described as having a dark, scaly body, a massive dorsal fin, and a long, beak-like snout, unlike anything found in the known seas. At a distance, it could be mistaken for a whale, but the closer it came, the more unnatural it appeared. According to the legends, the Xiphias spent most of its time beneath the surface, moving through deep waters where very little of its body could be seen. Often the first sign of its presence was a single fin, gliding silently across the waves. Then another part of the creature would emerge, and then another. Yet no matter how much of it appeared above the water, there always seemed to be more hidden below. This uncertainty made the creature particularly frightening. Sailors could never tell whether they were looking at the entire animal or only a small portion of something much larger. The Xiphias was also believed to be unusually aggressive. Rather than avoiding ships, it was said to approach them, circling slowly through the water, as if studying them. Witnesses described watching the creature disappear beneath their vessel, leaving them with no idea where it had gone. Moments later, it might surface on the opposite side, or directly ahead, or not appear again at all. That unpredictability became one of its most feared traits. The long, beak-like snout gave it a silhouette unlike any whale, shark, or fish known to sailors at the time. Combined with its rough scales and dark body, the Xiphias looked less like a natural animal and more like something that had emerged from the deepest parts of the ocean. And that was exactly where many believed it lived, far below the surface, hidden in waters too deep for anyone to explore. Alright, as always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps a lot. Until then, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.